So welcome back. In today's episode, I'm going to answer your question, how does homeowner financing work? Some people call that seller financing or owner financing, but you're getting the idea. You own the property and you want to sell it, so you suddenly become a banker. Now, most investors are so hungry for cash that they often pass up this particular way to make extra profits in real estate. Now, I have a number of students that follow this pretty close to a system, and by using owner-seller financing, they have had exceptional results. So let's investigate that a little bit, and let's talk about it. This is another way for you to make money. Next, I'll give you kind of a capsulized, condensed form of owner-seller financing. So some people call it owner financing, some people call it seller financing, some people combine all the two. But the deal really is you're going to sell the property and be the banker. In other words, you're going to collect payments. You get a down payment, plus you'll collect payments over a period of years, 5, 10, 20 years. So you do the work once, but you'll collect payments many times. All right, so who's going to make the contract? Well, you could have an attorney do that, or you could use a title company. Many people use a title company to save money, but either way it's going to work because the title company is going to make sure that the contract is correct before they'll submit it into the county records. All right, so the accuracy of the contract is always going to be important. All right, now the contract is nothing more than a promissory note that lays out the terms of what the payments are going to be, what the down payment is, and how long the loan is going to be. So owner-sellers can do this all day long. Anytime they want to do it, it's perfectly legal to sell your property using owner-seller financing. Now, what will that do? Well, first of all, it'll speed the process up. So I'm answering the question, owner or homeowner seller financing. That's what we're talking about today. All right, now here's an example. So let's assume that you own a property that you purchased at an auction, or maybe it's a rental property, and you want to sell the property. Traditionally, what most people do is they'll call a broker to have a broker help them sell the property. Okay, I'm not negative on all that, but there's a way to speed this process up. Okay, so the broker, what they'll naturally do is they'll go to a banker. And they'll say, look, will you make loans on that? Or they'll find other lenders that want to make. All right. The selling process is usually completely handled by a broker. But in our business, a lot of our own people handle their own financing and they handle their own sale of the property. Now, who's going to be more motivated than you? You're going to be motivated to get the property sold. So if you'll use installment sales and seller financing or homeowner seller financing, you'll find out that you can sell a lot quicker. Why? Because people are attracted to that. The people that are attracted now are the people that can't get a loan at the bank. In other words, they've got a poor FICO score, or they're having a problem with their payment somewhere else, so they're not going to have a good FICO score, and if they don't, they're not going to be able. So let's explain both of these processes, kind of put it all together for you. All right, now when this is done correctly, it speeds the whole process up. Why? Because you don't have to go to a loan committee to get a loan. You don't have to wait for the appraisal to get that done. You don't have to wait for home inspections. It's your property, so you can sell it and you can dictate the terms and make it happen quickly. So there's not a lot of waiting. So if you want to sell a property today and start getting payments tomorrow, that could easily happen. Whereas if you're going to have a broker do it, go through the bankers and so on, it's going to take a lot more time, maybe 30 or even 60 days. So either way, the market's out there and it will work for you, but it takes time when you do installment sales. All right, now anytime you use a banker, you're going to have to do an appraisal. Now, appraisers are really being scrutinized in the marketplace today due to financial crises a few years ago and high-rising property. Well, appraisers really take a lot of heat now because if they give an appraisal that's too low, they make the seller unhappy. If they make it too high, they make the banker unhappy. So they're really being looked at, okay? Same situation with home inspections. All that takes time. 30, 60 days is not unusual. If you want to avoid all that, you can do seller financing, and you can sell without doing home inspections and without appraisals. It's going to be up to you. All right. Now, what happens when you do owner or homeowner seller financing? It opens up a door to a whole bunch of new clients. Now, who are these new clients? Maybe some of them just have poor FICO scores. Now, how did that happen? They might have just got a divorce. They might have been through a bankruptcy. Maybe they had someone sick in their family and they paid the doctor and didn't pay the mortgage payments, so now they lost a property. That just destroys their credit. So they don't have good credit. So what are you going to do? Well, you're going to have to think about that. These people, a lot of them just mismanage money. They don't pay bills on time, and whatever. So what I say is let's take a close look at those people because you might find someone that could really help you out. Well, how are they going to help you out? They're going to help you out by buying your property, one, and making their payments on time, number two. All right, how do you find those people? You find out people with good jobs. You find people that have some longevity on the job and they have good payments. All right, so I suggest you take a look at those people when they come and they want to buy to you. Now, I'm not suggesting that you become a charity lender and you start giving your properties away. I'm not suggesting any of that. But I am suggesting you take a good look at people because about 25% of the market has difficulty in getting financing. What do I mean by that? They can't get a loan because their FICO score is so bad. And a lot of these people are pretty good. I've had people show up and they were as good a client as I ever wanted to have, and they paid their bills on time. Now, someone else can tell you the opposite story, but maybe they went ahead and sold their property to someone they didn't check and see if they had longevity on their employment and didn't check to see if they made enough money. If you sell the house if someone doesn't have enough money, well, you're going to be right back in the problem of having the property back. All right, so what's the big question? The big question is see if they got a good job and see if they've been at that job for a period of time. Maybe there's two people on it. All right, now savvy owners finance using a contract. All right, now why do they use a contract? Because in the contract you can stipulate what the payments are going to be, what the down payment's going to be, that they'll pay taxes, that they'll pay insurance. You can write down the terms of that. If you're using a mortgage, you're using someone else's documentation, and the someone else, if it's a mortgage, it might take you months to foreclose. If you use a contract, you can write in the contract. They have so many days to pay, and if they're late, you can just go ahead and evict them from the property. All right, now I'm not an attorney and I'm not a CPA, but you can check that out with an attorney. You can also check the contracts at a title company, and they'll be very firm about the stipulated time for people to pay. All right, now all of the contracts are going to have the installment sale in it. They're going to say what the payment has to be. They're all going to say that property tax have to be made, and they're all going to say insurance has to. If those payments aren't made, they're in violation of the contract, and you're going to take the property back. So do it all up front. Let them know that they're going to have to do all that. Remember, you're providing financing, and the banks won't. So that's going to make this deal a lot easier. But you'll have to learn a little bit about this documentation. Is it difficult? No, because the title company is happy to guide you through it because they're going to get a fee for doing that. Attorney's happy to do it, but they take quite a bit of time to get it done. All right, now everything I'm saying today is perfectly legal and it's ethical and it's been going on for decades. This is not something new. It's just that the marketplace today, everybody goes and gets a 30-year loan. It's not necessarily what you really need. Now, seller financing in the 100% range is going to come up all the time. Some people say they want to get 100% financing of the property. All right, I'm not negative on that, but you're really going to have to think this out. All right, what's going to happen? Well, people will come to you and they're down payment poor. In other words, they don't have the down payment. So what on earth are you going to do about that? Well, you were smart and you went to the auction and you bought a property. You probably got 60, 70, 80% discount. Now you're trying to sell that property. Well, when you sell this property, if you're going to sell it with 100% financing, you've got to give it a lot of thought. Because if you do, you're going to get it back. They're still going to owe everything. They're not going to have made enough payments. So the point is, if you want to sell it, try to get a down payment. If you can't get a down payment, make sure the first payments are going to have extra money in the first payments so they can build into a down payment. Traditionally, banks lend 80%. When a bank lends 80%, the people have to put up 20%. You're not going to be in that situation. You're going to have people that don't have down payment. So in the instances where the people don't have down payments, it's a negotiation. Now, what's the negotiation going to be? It's not going to be on the price. It's not going to be on the interest rate. It's going to be on that down payment. So if they want to get in for a low down payment, you could ask them, and you could require by contract that they make the first payments higher than the subsequent payments. In other words, why don't they pay an extra $500 plus every month for the first 2 years? And by doing that, they build in a down payment of $12,000. All right, if you do that math, that'll work for you. So now you get some kind of down payment. Now, are you going to be doing it exactly like the bank's doing? No, but you're getting your property sold, you're getting the price you want, you're getting the interest rate you want. Now you just have to build in the down payment. All right, it's not unusual for people to come and they don't have money, but they have a good job. They've been on the job for a long time. They might have two people earning. Okay, I don't know what happened, but you can ask them what happened, and then you'll have to make a judgment. and if you judge that you're going to give them 100% financing, then you better make sure you have a solid contract, because if they can't pay you, you want to get the property back absolutely as quick as possible. All right, so what am I suggesting? If you want them to build a down payment, get at least another $500 or even $1,000 a month every single month until you have what you call a down payment, $10,000, $15,000, whatever it is. Build it into it. You're not going to have trouble finding clients that'll do that. Why? Because they can't get financed anywhere else. If you'll finance, you're going to be able to sell properties very, very quickly. All right, now I'm all finished with this particular video. There's other videos that talk about financing within the channel, but don't forget, right below me, there's a gift for you. So go ahead and go there and get your gift.